In 2023, the Denver Broncos started the season with big hopes. With Sean Payton as head coach and Russell Wilson as quarterback, the goal was to make the playoffs. But things didn't go as planned. The team struggled with inconsistency, injuries, and poor strategies. Wilson, already under pressure, had a hard time fitting into Payton's system, which led to disappointing results and growing tension. During the bye week, reports came out that Wilson was told to change his contract, or he might be benched for the rest of the season. Wilson wasn't happy about it. He joined the Broncos to win, compete, and build something lasting, even signing a 7-year deal with that in mind. Now he was being asked to adjust his contract while the team was already dealing with issues. It's hard to believe that the contract changes were only about sparking the offense. Reports suggested there were other motivations, like changes to specific parts of the deal. Those things didn't match up with the explanation given. Plus, the team's record was 6-3 in their last 9 games. So claiming it was just about winning didn't add up either. This entire situation set the stage for the 2024 NFL Draft. With questions surrounding Wilson's future, the Broncos shifted their focus to finding a new franchise quarterback. The draft became a crucial moment for the team, an opportunity to rebuild and inject new life into the roster, hoping to find a long-term solution at quarterback. The question is, who's the next leader who could guide the Broncos back to success? Well, looking at Bo Nix's profile, it's easy to see why he makes sense for a team like Denver. He's highly efficient, gets the ball out quickly, and makes smart decisions. Those are the kind of traits you want in a quarterback. Traits that fit a Sean Payton offense. It's not hard to imagine Nix as the kind of quarterback who could follow in the footsteps of a Drew Brees-type leader. That's exactly the kind of guy Payton would want. And it's the type of quarterback the Broncos need. Draft night was a whirlwind for teams all around the league, but the Broncos felt the weight of the moment more than most. With quarterbacks being selected at a historic rate, the pressure was on to secure the next franchise QB. They knew time was running out, and each pick made their task even more critical. When the 12th pick came around, the stakes were clear and they couldn't afford to miss. With the 12th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos selected Bo Nix, a quarterback from Oregon. Now, who exactly is Bo Nix? Let's dive into his background. Born on February 25, 2000, in Arkadelphia, Arkansas, Nix grew up in a football family. His father, Patrick Nix, was a former quarterback at Auburn and a successful high school coach, so football was in his blood. Nix was exposed to the sport early, learning the game's ins and outs from his father, who guided him through the highs and lows of the sport. In high school, Bo's career at Pinson Valley in Alabama was nothing short of incredible. Playing under his father's guidance, Nix led his team to back-to-back state championships. His performance earned him the title of Alabama's Mr. Football, and his arm strength, mobility, and football IQ were obvious. He was already one of the top quarterback prospects in the country. Naturally, he followed his father's path and committed to Auburn. At Auburn, Bo Nix arrived as a 5-star recruit with massive expectations. The pressure was on for him to be a playmaker, and it was clear Auburn needed him to step up. He did just that with a thrilling victory over Oregon in his debut game. Nix showed poise, making clutch plays under pressure, exactly the kind of mindset teams look for in their quarterback. Despite a promising start, Bo Nix's time at Auburn wasn't without its challenges. Inconsistencies, coaching changes, scheme adjustments, and the constant pressure of high expectations made his tenure turbulent. But here's where Nix showed something different from other quarterbacks. When things weren't going well at Auburn, he didn't react like a typical quarterback would. Instead, he learned from those tough moments, showing resilience in the face of adversity. After 3 years with the Tigers, Nix decided to transfer to the University of Oregon for his senior season. That move proved to be a turning point in his career. Under a new system and surrounded by a much stronger roster, Nix thrived. He showcased his dual threat ability, proving he could make plays with both his arm and his legs. He finished third in Heisman voting, and his decision-making, accuracy, and leadership were much improved. His standout season definitely caught the attention of NFL scouts, who saw a much more polished and well-rounded player than before. Some even compared him to Jalen Hurts, citing similarities in their backgrounds, both being sons of coaches, both having gone through adversity at their first schools, and both flourishing at their second school. As the 2024 NFL Draft unfolded, Nix was the 6th quarterback selected. After the draft, Broncos head coach Sean Payton was quick to make it clear that Nix was the player the team had been targeting all along. Payton mentioned that aside from Nix's mental makeup, his arm strength stood out during the process. His pro day left a lasting impression, and Payton even pointed out to ownership that it seemed like everyone saw the same thing in Nix. However, it's important to note that while the Broncos loved what Nix brought to the table, they ended up picking the 6th quarterback taken in the draft. Historically, that's not been a great spot to be. Over the last 5 years, the 6th quarterback selected has often struggled to make a lasting impact in the NFL. So, while being drafted is an incredible achievement for Nix, the history of quarterbacks taken at that position raises questions. It might have been an anomaly with a deep 2024 class, or maybe the Broncos are hoping for a different outcome this time. Only time will tell. The question is whether Bo Nix was simply overdrafted, and only time will reveal if that's the case. This situation is similar to what we've seen with other quarterbacks taken later in drafts, and there are examples of this pattern over the years. Let's take a look at some recent drafts to understand the landscape. In 2023, Jake Hanner was drafted by the New Orleans Saints in the 4th round. The 5 quarterbacks picked ahead of him were Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, and Hendon Hooker. Hanner didn't play in his rookie season and was suspended for the first 6 weeks for violating the league's policy on banned substances. In 2022, Sam Howell was taken in the 5th round by the Washington Commanders. His career stats so far include a completion rate of 62.6%, with 4,139 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 23 interceptions. The quarterbacks picked ahead of him were Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, Matt Corral, and Bailey Zappi. While the 2022 quarterback class wasn't particularly strong, it still only took 18 games for the Commanders to trade Howell, sending him to the Seattle Seahawks. Now he serves as a backup to Geno Smith. In 2021, Kyle Trask was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 2nd round. So far, his career stats are dismal. Just 4 completions out of 11 attempts for 28 yards. The 5 quarterbacks taken before him were Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones. The Bucs' selection of Trask didn't pan out, and though there were talks last summer about him challenging Baker Mayfield in training camp, that's unlikely to happen after Mayfield's performance last season. Then, in 2020, Jacob Eason was picked by the Indianapolis Colts in the 4th round. His career stats are even less impressive. 5 completions out of 10 attempts for 84 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. The quarterbacks drafted ahead of him were Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, and Jalen Hurts. The gap between the 5th quarterback, Jalen Hurts, and the 6th, Jacob Eason, was massive. Nearly 70 picks. The 5 quarterbacks ahead of him have been far more successful, but that kind of disparity is a tough pill to swallow. In 2019, Ryan Finley was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals in the 4th round. His career stats are also underwhelming. Just 48.7% completion with 638 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. The quarterbacks picked ahead of him were Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones, Dwayne Haskins, Drew Lock, and Will Grier. Finley had some early appeal as a late-round steal, but after 2 seasons, the Bengals traded him to the Houston Texans. However, he was waived before the start of training camp that season. The quarterbacks selected ahead of him are still in the league, with the tragic exception of Dwayne Haskins, who passed away. But Finley's NFL journey was short-lived, and now he's been out of the league for 3 years. So where does that leave Bo Nix? It's tough to ignore the historical trends, but trends are just that, patterns, not inevitabilities. And Bo Nix proved that history can be changed with his performance in the 2024 season. In his rookie season, Nix showcased his growth and ability to lead an offense effectively. He led his team to their first playoff appearance since their Super Bowl victory in 2015, ending a 9-year drought. He completed 66.3% of his passes for an impressive 3,775 yards, throwing 29 touchdowns against 12 interceptions, earning a passer rating of 93.3. These numbers highlight his efficiency and ability to make plays, even under pressure. Bo Nix has rewritten history and sent a bold message to the NFL. Quarterbacks selected later in the draft can rise to the occasion and perform at an elite level. Although the Broncos' 2024 season finish wasn't ideal, it exceeded expectations for a team in transition. Nix's stellar rookie campaign not only proved doubters wrong, but also highlighted the potential in players who may be overlooked initially. The Broncos took a chance, and it's safe to say that gamble has paid off. With Nix at the helm, Denver appears to have finally found their franchise quarterback, a player capable of leading the team back to glory and redefining what it means to succeed in the NFL.